Do you think that when, like the bench press, for example, do you think that was born out of like, oh, this is a good movement, or this was the most functional way to get the most amount of weight above our head?
That one.
And then it turned into an exercise.
Yeah.
Like,
so
the goal was get the heaviest weight above your head.
And then this is the best technique.
And then, it would be interesting to have watched the evolution of that.
To see how they like experimented their way to that process.
Yeah. Because the first try wasn't that.
Yeah. Well, even in the bench press, like you see, there's like crazy technique with that, and like they've learned how to not let it sort of stop here in the shoulder joint in terms of like the force. They're able to learn how to distribute the force. So if you get your obliques involved, you get your back involved, you get your hips involved,
all bigger muscles,
all bigger muscles. Now you have to contribute to stabilize the weight. And then now like that lever is so much more effective.
Yeah. You know, what's crazy about this too, is that a lot of us don't realize, especially when we've been working out for a while, that the limiter to our strength has less to do with the exercise that we keep trying to get stronger in, and more to do with the fact that there's a leak in power or there's an instability that we have yet to identify. So I'll use myself as an example. I love deadlifting. I'm good at deadlifting. It's the one lift that I can do that I feel real confident if I'm around other strong people. Well, my deadlift went up because I did an exercise that I had no idea would contribute to my deadlift, which was offloaded carries or offloaded overhead presses. Why? Well, if I break it down now as a trainer, there was probably an instability there laterally with my QL or one of my obliques or something like that. So I was practicing like these suitcase carries with a barbell, which is really weird and awkward. Then I went to go do a deadlift and the weight came up. It just came up very smooth. It felt very different because I had done something that my body needed to be done that I couldn't really even break down, knowing as much as I know with my traditional methods. So like, what's my whole point with this? Like, there's a lot of wisdom that we can learn from a lot of these exercises that are not popular anymore, that used to be very popular for a reason. Yeah. Well, we just don't do them.
Yeah, you know what I mean, what I think of immediately is like there is this need for mobility. There's this need for that sort of supplemental movement to what we've created in terms of like the environment of the gym, the way that we train. There was definitely a deficit there. And, using these kind of unconventional lifts are the ones that were a little more demanding in terms of functional strength. It covered all that. It strengthened all of those muscles to where it really didn't require a lot of the mobility to address these things.
Well, think 100 years ago, okay, there were no desk jobs. Every job was somewhat physically taxing and required mobility and so it was so much more common. I think that has a lot to do with why a lot of this fell out of favor too. It's just like because we've now shifted to where the majority of jobs are not physical labor. Most jobs today are sitting at that just didn't even exist. So it's just like, I think real quickly, and then you add that to the like, oh, we care more just about aesthetics. So it's like, oh, what's the quickest way just to get to this aesthetically looking?
Well, imagine if I'm gonna use an analogy. Imagine if driving, nobody drove cars anymore for whatever reason. We could float or whatever. We could just like Star Trek, right?
But I'd love to float.
I know, but people still got cars, but nobody drove cars. It would very quickly move from what went inside the car to how the car looked. Nobody would give a shit about the engine if all you ever did was look at it. It was all about how it looked. So then we would do things to make it look fast. When in the past it was okay, cool, that looks fast, but is it actually fast? Right. You know, it's funny, back in the day, so what they used to do with these competitions at what they call the Bronze Era of these strength competitions is people would show up and they would do these challenges. So it'd be like Eugene Sandow versus so-and-so or so-and-so versus so-and-so. They would show up, they'd stand on a stage, and initially I'm sure people would look at them and be like, wow, look how big that guy is, or oh my God, look at the whatever. Then they go right into the competition, who can lift the most weight. Nobody gave a shit anymore. In fact, if you looked a lot bigger and stronger than the other person and you lost, it was even more of an embarrassment and even bigger plus for the other person. There's this guy called I don't remember his name, the Mighty Atom.
Yeah, the Mighty Atom.
Yeah. He's either one of them had like a crazy...
Bro, he's this tiny dude. And he would like bend like, prison bars and do weird shit. And he was famous because he was this little dude who was so strong. So
okay, this may be a stupid question. What are all the era, bronze, golden, what what exactly, how do they get their name? Like, why is it the Bronze Era? Why is it the Golden Era?
So bronze, I think what they're trying to do is like, you know how in with empires and the discovery of metals, it became like bronze was the first metal.
It's almost like the tools they have to work with, like kind of relating to that a bit.
I think that's where they came with. But anyway, bronze.
You find that out. I'm curious.
I mean, it would be iron
it went
at that
bronze
point,
and then silver. Silver would be, I think, 1940s to early 60s.
Oh, so there is a silver era?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it went like bronze, then it went to like silver, maybe 1930, 1940s to 60s. And then the golden era, which we all know of as being like the 70s and 80s. Like
so what is now?
Yeah.
I don't know what they call it.
Venice Beach.
Yeah. I don't know what they refer to it now.
I didn't know there was a silver era.
Platinum era.
Yeah. But when you hear golden era, like the golden era of bodybuilding, they're talking about Arnold's era. Everybody refers to that as the golden era.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, and that one I was more familiar with. I wasn't really familiar with even the Bronze Era until you guys started talking more about the old
But you
stuff.
could see the evolution of strength sports going from what you could do to what you could do and how you looked to just how you looked. Like nobody cared. Like now the most popular strength sport, or like bodybuilding, I should say, nobody knows or cares about what they could do. It's all about how they look.
Yeah.
It was the opposite in the Bronze Era, and then it slowly moved into, even in the Silver Era, they had competitions where bodybuilders would flex, but then they'd have to perform.
So
like,
what's
Right. No, I would
feat.
love to see that. Honestly, to
body would
incorporate
change.
more people, I think, yes, the physical specimen of what the body that you've built, but now like let's see it in motion. Let's see what you can do in terms of a functional strength.
You know what? Social media has brought that back a little bit.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Because you follow your favorite bodybuilders and you love watching some like the Ronnie Coleman thing was like a big deal, right?
Or
Like,
some of them don't rank high in bodybuilding at all, but are well known more for their feet, like Larry Wheels. Larry Wheels, bodybuilder,
yeah.
but he doesn't really do well in
he
bodybuilding.
doesn't have a great physique, but he's strong as fuck.
Ridiculously strong, and he became way more well known.
yeah.
Stad Efferding didn't really win lots of competitions in bodybuilding, but he was so strong. That's kind of how he built his name.
So what's the evolution look like? Do you think we come back? Do we actually come back to this? Like, do we get to a place where that is, highlighted more, and it is something that we
That's
care?
a good question.
I don't know.
Does it come full circle? Is it a blend in the future, like you're kind of alluding to? Like, what does it look like, or do we move into something completely different?
I like that it's a little bit of a blend. We saw this with women too. CrossFit did this pretty well with women, where all of a sudden, like, strong women became kind of cool again, but it wasn't because of how they looked; it was what they did. And then people said, "Oh, they also kind of look good." CrossFit did that a little bit for women. And you see with social media too now, women are celebrating more of like their lifts than before. Still not nearly as popular as how you look.
Yeah.
Same with the men.
Oh,
I don't know where it goes.
Look at Doug's got the actual breakdown of the years.
What does it say?
So bronze is 1894 to 1939.
Okay, there you go.
Silver era is 1940 to 1959. Golden era is 1960 to 1983. What does that mean for you? Yeah, what is now? That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
It just stops there.
How funny is that?
Yeah.
How lame is that?
Everybody else sucks. Yeah.
Oh
Man.
It's pretty wild. The exercise and the workout routines change a lot too, which is kind of interesting. If you look at the routines of the bronze era versus what sucks about this, by the way, is that as we move through different, because bodybuilding still has a huge influence on how people work out. Okay. Although now we're seeing more influence from other strength sports, which is pretty cool. But what sucks is as we move into new like phases, we tend to lose the wisdom of the previous ones.
I know. Right. Instead of like compounding and being like, hey, let's not just throw everything out from bodybuilding.
Yeah,
let's not
add
throw
to
everything.
it.
It's like exactly find a way to. No, it's so strange to me. Like I personally have never been like that. Like I'm genuinely curious about all these different modalities and like, oh, obviously there's a whole cohort of people that love this modality. There's got to be something there, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's something that doesn't really appeal. Like I'm not a big yoga guy, but I remember even like when being around yoga going like, well, there's got to be something really valuable here.
For this,
that many people.
I got a great example because and a lot of people will remember this. This literally happened, and it's what's funny to me is it's starting to go back again, which is really weird. When we were like in the beginning of our fitness careers, so you're looking at late 90s, early 2000s, there were exercises that there was lots of wisdom behind them that completely fell out of favor. We talk about them all the time. Barbell squats, barbell deadlifts. Literally, I know people listening right now who are younger than us can't even comprehend that this was a thing, but I swear to God, you went into a gym in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Nobody barbell squatted. Nobody.
Bro,
and nobody
This
deadlifted.
is so much not an exaggeration that I kid you not, I could go probably almost a year and not see a squat done in the gym.
You could go
Of
5 years and not see a
fucking-
deadlift.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I didn't even know what a deadlift was my first part of my career. Like that's how
They used to
that's how
scare
fo-
people.
That's how foreign
Yeah.
it was in a commercial big gym. I'm not talking about some powerlifting gym. That's been around
Actually, the
forever.
only place you would see barbell squats and barbell
Is a
deadlifts,
powerlifting gym?
gym.
Yeah,
You wouldn't see in a bodybuilding gym
or
either.
an athletic gym.
Of course.
But I mean, again, what works, like that was always kind of a place. And I was a little bit skewed because but every time I was in a commercial gym, it was like nobody was using squat rack.
Nobody even had more than one squat rack.
No.
The biggest 24-hour fitness, 50,000 plus square foot, one squat
In
rack.
the corner, dusty.
Yeah.
And people would do
Bicep curls in it.
Dude.
It's straight bar. That's where the meme came from.
Yes. Yeah, that was a real
meme
thing.
came from that because there was definitely a transition of where that's what people were doing.
And the reason why this is such a good example is people now, if you tell them how valuable is a deadlift, how valuable is a squat, they're like, oh my God, best exercises ever, best results ever. And that just goes to show you how the wisdom can be so lost, how people can become so ignorant. We are talking about some of the most effective exercises that strength athletes knew about. If you went back to the 60s, 70s, early 80s, everybody did deadlifts and squats. Everybody. Then everybody stopped doing them. And it was so forgotten that people, you're talking about the best exercises ever. Nobody did them at all. That's how forgotten it was. So to think that we're all of a sudden more aware now, and that couldn't possibly happen now, you are fooling yourself. And I'm talking about the exercises that I mentioned earlier in this episode are some of those exercises. You never see anybody do heavy suitcase carries or one-arm presses with barbells or bent presses or whatever. You'll never see those in the gym. Is that because they're not effective? No, they're super effective at developing incredible physiques and strength.
Yeah.
It's just forgotten.